Hey everybody, it's Thursday, time for the shop update here at Woodsmith. Had a snowstorm earlier in the week here in Des Moines. We're expecting another one tomorrow. Everybody's feeling a little Friday here, so we're gonna get started on this update with Steve Johnson and a project he's been working on for Shop Notes.
Hey everyone. Well, this is a little ways out. It says, is this Shop Notes 145?
Yeah, so not this one, but the next one.
But the next one. So this one, for some reason, got done quick. But anyway, it's basically a little tool tote with this pull-out drawer, which I haven't built yet. And that will, I just glued up the sides. There'll be a couple runners here, and then that little drawer will run in and out. We've got a walnut dowel for handle. This is all pine. And pretty straightforward, just a lot of tongue and groove joinery. But all solid wood, no, excuse me, no plywood, so.
Now you just pulled off a saw blade from the table saw that's not your standard saw blade.
Oh, my groover?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you show that?
So I've had this for, weighs about 3 times with a saw blade. This is an Amana 1/4 inch groover. I just love this thing. It's great for cutting grooves. It actually does good across the grain. This one could use a bit of cleaning, but it's right at a 1/4 inch. It's never been sharpened. And it's real good for cutting the little dados and grooves for the bottom and whatnot. If you don't want to go to the trouble of setting up your dado, or if your dado's been sharpened, sometimes they end up being a little thinner than 1/4 inch. So, good tool to have.
Yeah. So like the very opposite of a thin curved blade.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, you could rip with this, but you'd need arms like Hercules, probably. So.
All right, we're going to check in with Mark.
Hello everyone. This week I got started on a building design project. Is the dining chairs. So I'm going to build a couple of these guys. These chairs match the dining table that I built 6 months ago maybe. It was a big round cherry table with a white oak base that was ebonized. So we're going to do the same process on this one. The actual seat pan is going to be cherry, so I've got those glued up there ready to go. And they are going to be dished out like so. You can probably see the profile a little bit better there and there. So this is going to be all cherry. The rest of it's going to be white oak, which I'm working on now. This is rift-sawn white oak. So I'm working on the parts, and these are going to be doweled and glued together, and then they're going to be ebonized, which is a process that we did back under the dining table, which requires using a tannin to stain the wood originally, and then let that dry, and then it's vinegar and steel wool. You apply over the top of that, and then you lacquer it, and it will turn pretty much pitch black. So it's a pretty cool process. Did you touch base on the Hoosier cabinet last week?
We did not.
No. Okay, so prior to starting on this, I've got the Hoosier cabinet wrapped up, so if you want to follow me. So before the holidays, for several weeks I was working on the Chris Fitch design Hoosier cabinet. This was predominantly used back in the 20s and 30s as a kitchen cabinet organizer. This is made out of solid hickory. So let's start with the bottom. We've got a slide out in here, and if you notice, we used undermount drawer slides with this, as opposed to what we usually do is put them on the sides. That way they're not visible, and you get to see the full look of the dovetail joinery on the edges of the drawers. These are a soft close option, so these work pretty well. Same with the drawers, so you don't see any hardware on the sides, all mounted underneath, out the way, so they're not visible. We went with a timber on here, so this is where you would usually put the bread or some of the kitchen appliance that you want to hide. We went with a reeded glass door, which was pretty a thing back in the day when they built these cabinets. I think that's pretty much it on that. Yeah, that is it. So working on the next project is the chairs, so getting further along with that, so check in next week.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome back. So I know over the last couple of weeks we've been talking about these miniature planes I've been working on. The smoother plane has been done for quite some time. However, I was in the process of finishing up the chisel plane here. So I know we talked about the material a little bit. We've got a exotic wood for the core. For this particular one, we used wenge, and then we used architectural brass for the outer plates, as well as the iron cap. And then there's actually a series of just bought hardware here that we got from McMaster car. The brass came from the same source, but the knurled knob and then the slotted knurled knob also came from McMaster. So I always like to try and keep a lot of the materials from the same source, just so, again, they are easier to source. One thing that did come up, not that there aren't several that do in our projects, is that I pre-bought these irons from Lee Valley, which was nice and convenient. Of course, you always have the option of buying tooling steel, and you can temper it yourself. And so if you're after a specific size iron for a custom piece, you can form your own. However, I thought it would be a little bit easier just to buy yours and kind of design the projects around the size that's available. What I failed to remember when I was going to machine this iron for the chisel plane is that the steel is already tempered or hardened, and so a traditional metal twist bit is not going to drill through it. And so currently I'm waiting for a $30 carbide drill bit so that I can drill through this, so that I can place it in the chisel plane. That should be showing up today, and then perhaps maybe next week we can take a look at them. I still need to sharpen the irons too, and maybe we can actually see them in action. Otherwise, I've been moving forward with projects. Currently, I am modeling it's a Rennie McIntosh piece. He was an architect and furniture designer at the beginning of the 20th century, kind of stemmed out of the arts and crafts movement. However, a lot of his pieces are highly stylized, kind of within that genre. This particular cupboard was created for a private or residential home called House Hill in 1904. It's for a specific room in the house called the Blue Bedroom, and so this cupboard would have sat on maybe on either side of a bed, kind of like a nightstand, but a little farther away. What drew me to this is, even though it's using traditional materials for the style, the door styles and rails are all different sizes, and so you kind of get a visual asymmetry with the frame and panel construction. He's starting to incorporate newer materials, and so there's some mother of pearl in that center panel there. The hardware itself is more specific to the period. There are some other moldings on here, or they appear to be moldings that are cut at an angle, which creates a nice visual interest and also shadow line. The other thing that attracted me to this piece too is just the sheer scale. It's about it's a little over 5 feet tall, so it's not terribly tall, but it's also very just delicate and shallow. And so, you know, even though it looks very grand in size, kind of looking at this, although we don't have a lot of reference for scale, it's just a very intimate in size. And so I'm in the process of modeling this, so hopefully this time next week we can maybe look at the digital model and some of the drawings, but the material is ordered for this. Outside of that, that is for Woodsmith 273. The chairs that Mark had mentioned are also for 273. And then I also have another project for 273, which we're doing a fine tool, kind of as more of an art tool. And in the process of doing a little bit of research for that, I came across a book in our library. It's called The Art of the Fine Tool. And there's a lot of really interesting, rare tools in here that have come out of private collections. And so I'm kind of going through and trying to find things that might be of interest to our viewers. And I know in the past we've done a torpedo level, which a little bit smaller than a traditional level, so they're about 9 inches in length. And I came across these English and Scottish style levels that are specific to the British Isles. at the beginning of the 20th century. And they too, kind of like these planes, are using an exotic wood as the core material for look, rarity, but also weight. And then you'll also notice on these levels too is that there is a brass element to these, where they have these shaped or cut out plates that are applied or recessed into the plane for really more aesthetic purposes. But again, I thought it would just be a nice kind of combination of a woodworking and metalworking project. And so I'm going to keep exploring that, and then hopefully come up or arrive on an idea within the next couple weeks or so. There's a lot of other things I could talk about. However, I feel like I've been talking for a while now, and so we'll save some for next week. But in the meantime, that's all I have, and let's move back to Phil.
Hey, one last thing before we check out. If you were watching last week, you know that we got some new additions here. And the new additions sparked our shop manager, Mr. Mark Hopkins, to do a little rearranging. So I thought we'd wrap up today's shop update with a tour of what's changed.
So yeah, last week we had some new toys to play with the new sponsor of Grizzly Industrial. So we had some new machines coming into the shop, which means we've got new machines. We need to get rid of some old machines. So had a little bit of a reorganization, changed the shop around a little bit. So I'll give you a little bit of a tour, what went, what we've got in new. So come this way. We used to have a whole bunch of cabinetry there that housed the sanding machines. So I got rid of that cabinet because it was falling apart anyway. Moved the sanding station over here. We saved this guy and that guy. We got rid of a router table that was here. This is a new addition, which is the Grizzly spindle sander. We had an old Clayton one that we removed. We had that a long time, so this is going to be a nice new addition. Hence the size of the spindles that come with this. They're pretty tall. What else? So we had was it a jet belt sander that we had? Or was it?
Yes.
It was a jet.
Yep.
So we had a jet belt sander that was over next to Steve's bench. We took that away, and then we've got this new Grizzly belt sander. What's good about this is this can lie, you can have it up vertical, and you can lie down flat. And it also comes with this little spindle attachment on the end, so that's going to be pretty handy to have. I moved a bandsaw from over there, so now we've got bandsaw row. There was some cabinets here, so I got rid of those. So we put all the bandsaws together. I've still got to hook them up to the dust extractor. So it's going to be nice to have all these in one place. We've got a little bit more room with this big saw on the end. Around here, hopefully Logan's taking the old Powermatic lathe, because it didn't quite fit into my little alcove that I built here, so we swapped that out with the Rikon that was in the video studio, so that fits in there perfectly. So that should cut down on the amount of debris flying everywhere, especially onto Steve's bench. Debris.
I love it. It's great.
We need a lesson in the British language.
There we go.
What else was that? I'm missing something.
I think that's it.
What is it? Oh, I've swapped out the drill press over here from the Rikon that was in the video studio. So Dylan inherited the old General drill press, which is over in this section. I think that is it. I will be working on modifying the dust collector ductwork at some point to make it more efficient, but so far so good. This is the new plan with the shop.
All right, new year, new shop. So if you have any updates to your workshop, you can send us comments or photos of it in the description below. We'd love to know what you have going on in your shop as well. We'll see you next week on the shop update. Bye, everybody.